Thank you so much. And I know we've had a very productive morning. In fact, one of the most common questions has been directed to a lot of our presenters is, you know, where can I get this great information that you've provided to us today? And just to make this, again, a very easy exercise for you, all this is being consolidated and will be up on the internet at an address which is www.buyusa.gov/New Orleans, and I'm sure you'll be able to Google this and come back with it very easily. But anyway, we're capturing all this great information that's been presented to you today in that manner and making it easy for you to access once you get back to your office. It is now my great pleasure to introduce a longtime friend and colleague, a true leader who has served in our House of Representatives, has served as our Lieutenant Governor, and today serves as the Mayor of New Orleans, a man that works tirelessly on behalf of all of our state, but today heads up the city of New Orleans. Please welcome with me Mayor Mitch Landrieu.
Good afternoon. Y'all went to the French Quarter Fest, huh? Let's try that again. Good afternoon. It's great to be with you. I was trying to explain to the Secretary why it's important if they're going to come to New Orleans that they actually come in over the weekends and enjoy what we have to offer. But Mr. Secretary, thank you so much for coming back. I want to thank Tulane and the World Trade Center and all of you that have had anything to do with putting this event together and coming with us today. You know, for those of you that are from here, I have a desire. I want to brag about the city for a long period of time, which I won't do, except to say that in order for the city of New Orleans and the metropolitan area of the state of Louisiana to continue to compete, there are a couple of self-evident ideas which are worth repeating, is that we're in a global economy, and that in order for us to succeed in the state of Louisiana, we always have to keep that in mind, and we always have to understand that we will never be able to compete if 64 parishes in Louisiana compete against each other. That is not what we are. We have to think regionally so that we can compete globally. It's a very important idea that sometimes in Louisiana we forget. And so the city of New Orleans is not a competitor with Shreveport, nor do we compete with Lake Charles, nor would we compete with the northern parishes. We are 8 economic development units, all playing to our strengths, all partnering together so that we can compete on an international stage. Louisiana occupies a very, very special place in the eye of the international community. The world knows about Louisiana. Last night we had with us one of the cabinet ministers from President Sarkozy's cabinet with us. We talked a lot about the interrelationship between Louisiana and, of course, France. And that happens all over the place. As I travel and have traveled internationally, both as mayor and as a lieutenant governor, I want to make the folks from Louisiana really feel good about the state that you live in, because there are folks that really understand the richness of our culture. They also understand that we have very shrewd, smart business people here as well. And so as we come here today to think about the health and the wealth of the business community, just from a very brief perspective, my job as the mayor in the first year that I've been there has been really to do 2 very simple things. Number 1, to stabilize the government, just to stabilize it, and then to restore credibility to the city of New Orleans so that people feel as though this is a honest, fair, decent, and really credible place to do business. It's really important to get that baseline right so that as we present ourselves to the international community, they know that this is a great place to do business with. And I think we've accomplished that task. But now, as we turn our view outward, as we think about a very simple principle, how do we add value to our intellectual capital? How do we add value to our raw material? How do we add value to our creative talent here on the ground? Create a product out of it, manufacture it here, market it from here, and sell it to the rest of the world with a big stamp on it that says made in Louisiana. That value added could come from the raw material of oil and gas. That added value could come from the intellectual capital that comes out of the new $5.6 billion LSUVA medical complex that we're talking about. that added value could come out of the horn of Trombone Shorty, off of the lips of Irma, right out of the hand of people that write music that we can then export and then create thousands and thousands of jobs in Louisiana. We have something very unique that other places in the world don't have. It's called authenticity and creativity, and very few places can produce and create the number of things that we have. And so I want you to think through that, because we are moving into a time when you have markets like China, markets like Brazil, South and Central America really opening up, and at a time when Louisiana can actually punch much, much higher than its weight. We're moving into that era, and I'm very thankful that we have great partners on the federal level that will help us do that. And so I'm thrilled to introduce you to the secretary that is with us today, Gary Locke. This gentleman, for those of you that don't know him, is a superstar in my book. He was the governor of the state of Washington for many, many years, and while he was the governor, he was always at the top of the list for very innovative executives throughout America that found ways to make government work better, faster, more efficiently, and in a way that created value. And then when President Obama selected him to run the department, he actually went into that department and didn't just think about outside of the house, he thought about inside of the house to make sure that it was an efficient and effective place so that they could deliver the resources here that were necessary. And on top of that, when he wasn't doing his day job and making sure that the department ran well and was creating jobs, when there was an emergency, whether it was Katrina, Rita, whether it was the BP oil spill, he was on the ground. He visited here many, many, many times to make sure that you were okay and to make sure that the American people's interests were protected. I think he's one of the great superstars. I understand now that he is heading to China to be the ambassador to China and is going to be the gateway for the United States of America, and I know particularly Louisiana. So please help me welcome Secretary Gary Locke.
Well, thanks, Mitch, for the introduction. And, you know, you have an incredible public servant in the mayor who served the state, but you can tell he's such an enthusiastic salesperson for New Orleans and really delivering great services and really trying to improve the business climate, but also the quality of life for all the people of the region. I want to thank you all for having me here today. I know that you have a jam-packed agenda, had some great breakout sessions this morning, and much more planned for this afternoon. But I want to give a special thanks to some of the folks who have helped make today's event happen. Obviously, Don Pearson, who's the Assistant Secretary for the Department of Louisiana Economic Development, who served as our moderator for the whole day, so thank you very much, Don. Also our host, the World Trade Center of New Orleans, and Dominic Knoll, thank you very much for your leadership there. But also Tulane University. What a beautiful campus, what a beautiful setting we're in. And I want to acknowledge Michael Bernstein, the provost of Tulane, and to all the faculty and staff of Tulane for just all the incredible work. We have, of course, a lot of speakers and commercial officers who have traveled here from some great distances to share their vast knowledge. I think you've heard from many of them already, or will hear from them later today. I also want to acknowledge Diane Farrell, who's on the board of directors of the Export-Import Bank, who also spoke today. I know that Congressman Cedric Richmond spoke earlier. He's not able to stay with us for lunch. I had an opportunity to chat with him about some of the commercial issues, the economic development issues that the region is facing, and he's been an incredible advocate, a very powerful voice for the small businesses and the working families of New Orleans. Congressman Richmond has been a major advocate for federal resources to help New Orleans and the companies here stay competitive in this very global marketplace, this 21st century high-tech global economy. And of course, I always enjoy coming here and meeting with your mayor. He takes me to some of your best restaurants and is always helping promote your tourism and seafood industry and just the incredible quality of life. And I know that you've been hit hard by Hurricane Katrina, still recovering, and obviously the Gulf Coast oil spill, but you could not have a better advocate and a more respected advocate for you than the mayor. Also, I want to acknowledge Donald Vanderwerken, who's the director of our U.S. Export Assistance Center here in New Orleans. Don has reached a very impressive landmark, 20 years of service for the federal government. So, for 2 decades now, he's been working tirelessly to help companies enter new overseas markets, allowing those firms to create more jobs here at home. And Don, thank you for your service. And if you please come on up for a second. We want to. Mayor Landry, why don't you come on up here as well? Mayor, come on up. Mayor, come on up. I'd like to present Don you a certificate. I want to give you, Don, a certificate and a lapel pen for your 20 years of incredible service. So, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Great. All right. Great. Just take a picture here. You get in the middle. Get in the middle. There you go. Tilt this down a bit.
All right.
Got it? Great.
Thank
you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate it.
He's terrific.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Well, let me see. As all of you know, 2 weeks from now will actually be the anniversary of that tragic Gulf oil spill. And of course, we're coming up on 6 years since Hurricane Katrina. Before we really get started, I just want to say how much incredible progress that's been made to rebuild this city, with all of you involved, and of course, Mayor Landry helping lead the charge. New Orleans citizens have shown remarkable resilience in the wake of these tragedies, and we know that New Orleans still has a long ways to go in terms of recovering fully from these 2 tragedies. But I want to let you know that President Obama and his entire administration are committed to keeping things moving in the right direction. In fact, later this week, the Commerce Department's Economic Development Administration will be announcing almost $2 million worth of grants that will lend a hand to your impressive efforts. This money will help fund important activities from workforce training, programs in the seafood industry, to technical assistance and consulting services to help communities and businesses get back on their feet. And giving New Orleans businesses the extra help they need to recover is a priority for the administration. And it's why we're here in the Big Easy today. This event that we're part of is the 3rd leg of our nationwide New Markets, New Jobs business tour. And the purpose of this nationwide trip is simple: to help small and medium-sized businesses sell more of their goods and services around the world, so they create more jobs here at home. And in the next few minutes, I'll explain how we're going to do that. But first, I think it's important to identify the stakes of what we're talking about here today. You know, in the President's State of the Union address back in January, the President talked about how important it was for America to win the future. And he said the most important contest that our nation faces is not between Democrats and Republicans, but it's between America and the other countries around the world who are competing like never before for the jobs and the industries of the future. And the primary goal of the administration is to give businesses like yours the tools that you need to win in this global economy. On the one hand, we're aggressively incentivizing investment here in America. And that's why President Obama insisted on 2 key provisions in the December tax package that he signed. These 2 provisions will directly help Louisiana companies and their customers. It features, for instance, a new expensing benefit, which will allow companies to write off 100% of all their machinery and equipment purchases made in 2011. You can write off 100% of all those purchases made in 2011 instead of depreciating it over time. And that's a significant tax savings for you right now. That's, in fact, the largest temporary investment incentive for businesses in the history of the United States. The package also contained a payroll tax cut that will put as much as an extra $1,500 in the pocket of a Louisiana family making $75,000 a year. And when you have $1,500 extra in your pockets, above and beyond the tax cuts that were extended, a new tax cut provision. That money enables families to spend, whether it's buying automobiles, buying clothes, shopping in their local establishments, which increases business activity and leads to more hiring. In his State of the Union address, President Obama called for comprehensive corporate tax reform, and he wants to work with the Congress to get rid of the loopholes, level the playing field, and use the savings to lower the corporate tax rate for the first time in 25 years without adding to the deficit. At the same time, the administration is making unprecedented effort to help companies like yours break into foreign markets. Now, why? Well, the simple fact is that the more that American and Louisiana companies export, the more they produce. And the more you produce, the more workers you need. And that means jobs, good-paying jobs here at home. Consider that exports directly support nearly 10 million jobs in the United States, with more than 140,000 export-supported jobs right here in Louisiana. Last year, nearly 3,000 companies exported goods from your state, and 86% of those were small and medium-sized businesses, the very businesses that are leading the charge in creating jobs and spurring the economic recovery in America. The jobs created by exports are in fact good-paying jobs that pay on average 15% more than the typical wage in this country. Exactly the type of jobs that we need more of. And that's why early last year, President Obama announced his National Export Initiative, which seeks to double U.S. exports by the year 2015, supporting millions of new jobs. We're already off to a great start. Exports have been a key driver of the recovery of the American economy since mid-2009. In fact, almost half of the entire economic recovery has been led by exports. Today, exports account for almost 13%, of our total U.S. economic output, which is the biggest portion of our economy since 1929. And in your city alone, your exports have grown by 62% in just the last 4 years. But there's still plenty of room to grow. And the Obama administration is committed to ensuring that American companies can capitalize on the potential of these expanding global markets. You saw a great example of this last December when President Obama signed the landmark trade agreement with South Korea. And we're working very hard to get this deal through the Congress. And if it passes, it will boost annual U.S. exports to Korea by $11 billion just in goods alone, and support at least 70,000 American jobs. And when you add to it services, well, that's even tens of thousands of more jobs. Remember that in the wake of the recent free trade agreement with Chile, your state's exports to that country grew by almost 300%. And the Singapore free trade agreement led to an impressive 739% increase in your exports. And we're hoping to see similar success with the Korea deal. And of course, it's just been announced that we now have an agreement with Colombia, which will further reduce the tariffs and the barriers that U.S. products and companies face when trying to sell to Colombia, which will mean more sales by American companies of American-made goods and services. All in all, America's economic output is expected to increase more from the U.S.-Korea free trade agreement than from our last 9 agreements combined. That's the incredible potential with Korea. As I said earlier, small to medium-sized businesses are absolutely critical to expanding American trade with the world. But despite all the progress that we've seen in boosting American exports over the last 5 years, we can do a heck of a lot more. Consider that only 1% of U.S. companies export. Only 1% of U.S. companies export. And of all companies exporting, 58% export to only one country, typically Canada or Mexico. Now, of course, it's important to sell more within the borders of America. But in a global economy where 95% of the world's consumers live outside the borders of the U.S., you've got to go where the customers are. And the more markets you're selling in, the more diversified your customer base is. And that's why U.S. companies that exported significantly held up better during the recession than companies that did not. But still, there are plenty of reasons why so many U.S. companies don't export. They may have trouble getting the financing that they need to produce more of their goods. They may be worried about getting a timely payment from that customer or buyer in a foreign country. I mean, if you're selling, let's say, from Louisiana up to Massachusetts and the customer doesn't pay you up in Massachusetts, you know how to go after them. But how do you go after them if they're in Poland? How do you make sure you get paid if they're in Hungary or Vietnam? Well, you may also have difficulty understanding and navigating those foreign customs and local rules and regulations. And of course, you know, you're not like a GE and a Boeing where you have thousands of people stationed all around the world whose sole job is to find you those buyers and customers. So you may not have the networks to get meetings with potential customers, distributors, or even foreign government decision makers. Well, the National Export Initiative is designed to help companies like you gathered here today to overcome all of these obstacles. We understand that when you're running a small, medium-sized company, you've got payroll to meet, you've got orders to fill, you've got customers to serve. You might not have the time to go searching for government services that can help your businesses. Well, that's why we're coming to you. And today we've got teams from the Export-Import Bank, the Small Business Administration, the Agriculture Department, the Office of the U.S. Trade Representative. And from the Commerce Department, we've got representatives from our International Trade Administration, which has advocates for U.S. businesses in almost 80 countries around the world and offices in over 100 cities here in America. To get their assistance, all you have to do is pick up the phone, call 1-800-USA-TRADE, 1-800-USA-TRADE, or go on to our website at export.gov. And our Commerce Department experts will work with you to design and implement a market entry strategy or an expansion strategy. We'll conduct an international search to help find potential agents or distributors for your unique product. We'll actually find buyers and customers for your made-in-USA goods and services. Think of it as a matchmaking for exporters. And we'll keep searching for partners and customers until you find the right fit. You heard this morning from Brenda Stelly of Oil Center Research International, LLC, and Catherine Smith of It Straps On. I think they talked about their successes in terms of exporting. They use some of our programs like the Gold Key program, where, you know, let's say you want to, our commercial service folks, our USIACs, our Export Assistance Center folks, say, hey, we think that your product would be really desirable in Colombia. And then our people down in Colombia will actually walk the sidewalks and find buyers and customers for you. You might come on down to Colombia, come down to our office in Colombia, and we'll bring those potential customers to you every 30 minutes on the half hour. 5, 6, 10 of those potential customers. I can tell you, and these, Brenda and Catherine will tell you that so many of their customers were found using this Gold Key service. It's like speed dating. All right? You just sit there. We bring them all to you. It's like speed dating. Well, the Commerce Department's Export Assistance team in New Orleans has a proven track record of connecting Louisiana businesses to buyers in foreign markets. And our local teams can connect you with the resources from other government partners like the Export-Import Bank. You know, one of the things about the Export-Import Bank is that they'll actually guarantee payment from a foreign customer or buyer for your product or service, so that you can actually go home and sleep at night knowing that you will get paid. Our goal here this week is to help all of you succeed. And with that in mind, we have staff from our local U.S. Export Assistance Center here. And these are the folks that can answer your most difficult questions. So I know we have a lot of them here, so I want all of our folks from the Department of Commerce, in fact, and not just the Export Assistance Center, to please stand up. All the folks from the Department of Commerce to please stand up. We need you to stand up now. All right? Just keep standing up. Now look around. These are the people that you need to go talk to if you have a question about exporting, if you need some help. Their job is to help you sell. So please call them. Please call them. All right, great. Thank you. Let's give them a big round of applause. In fact, we've also added a new resource for Louisiana businesses, and it's called our experts at our Commerce Connect initiative, which is now operating in all 5 states in the Gulf Coast region. Commerce Connect is like a one-stop shop for local businesses. It has staff who are cross-trained in not just all the programs offered at the Commerce Department, but also the other federal agencies, whether it's SBA, Labor Department, Export-Import Bank, or even the diversification programs offered by the Defense Department. But they're cross-trained in not just these federal programs, they're cross-trained in the programs offered by state and local governments. So that when you go to one of our Commerce Connect offices, you meet with one person who becomes your advocate, your ombudsman, to help you access the full menu of federal and local resources to help you compete and succeed in this global environment. No matter where businesses are in the life cycle, whether it's just getting off the ground or looking to expand into overseas markets, Commerce Connect will help you. And we launched this program in Michigan in 2009, and now we're expanding this to 28 locations all across America. So I really encourage everyone here to take advantage of this one-stop shop program. I know all of you have been through a lot over the last several years. It's been one natural disaster after another with the economic recession on top of it. But you are starting to see the benefits of the economy on the upswing. And we're confident that that positive momentum will continue in the years ahead. But one thing is clear. For the American economy to produce the millions of new jobs that we need, our small and medium-sized companies must lead the way. And when you succeed, the entire American economy succeeds, and the people of America succeed. And the Obama administration will do everything it can to give you the help you need. We are focused on the National Export Initiative to double U.S. exports by the year 2015, because the more you export, the more you produce. The more you produce, the more people you need, and that means jobs, good-paying jobs. And you, the small and medium-sized companies of this area, are the bedrock, the soul of this community, and we want you to succeed. Good luck, and thanks very much.
Well, it doesn't get any better than that, folks. You've got the commitments from the federal level, from the state level, from the local community level. Secretary Locke, thank you for your vision and your leadership. We hate to lose a friend in Washington, D.C., but if we're going to gain one, we want to gain one in China, and we wish you great success in your next role. We know you will succeed. Mayor Landrieu, thank you for your commitment, your time today, and to what you will bring to bringing New Orleans rebuilt back better, stronger, and taking its rightful place on the global stage as an always great international city. So thank you for your leadership in that regard.